Now we need to move on to the handle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to create, go to geometry, select sphere, and draw out a random sphere. Beautiful. We need to change its segments down to 16. And then rotate it with angle snap on 90 degrees. There we go. Let's just make sure it's on line. So what we want to do is we need to make sure that this is on the center line. Yep, that looks good to me. Right, that's all good. Go to the scale option and then scale it in the x-axis. So you get like a flattened, a stretched circle. Right click, convert to editable poly. And now we're just going to sculpt it at will. Actually, I better move this before I do that. I'm going to just move this to the center line so I don't have to later. There we go. Now we're just going to sculpt this at will. This is all personal preference. So sculpt it into what you want the center of your hilt to look like. I'm just going to quickly do mine. Just make sure that you don't increase the amount of segments within the sphere. There we go. Now that you've done that, down the bottom end, we're going to make the handle. So select all the bottom faces here. And then edit polygons, extrude. Extrude that down. Oh, too big. There we go. I'm actually going to rescale this in a minute. It doesn't matter. I personally think that's huge. However, for the purposes of this tutorial, as it was all personal preference, doesn't really matter at this particular time. Right. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go out of editable poly mode and rotate the object around slightly so that we have a nice side view. So we have a single polygon running down the side. Deselect that. And now, as you can see in our reference image, we have a extra loop here so that the hilt can come out, the handguard can come out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go to modify, click the object, go to edge mode, drag across these faces, and connect. Let's bring that up a little bit. There we go. Oops. There we go. I'm going to scale that out like so. Now we're going to go into polygon mode again. Select all the front faces. And extrude those out. No, again, too much. You should extrude it so that the end of this extrusion should end a little bit short of the, just above where the end of the curve of the blade is. Scale that in a little bit. And now I'm going to move the whole thing upwards because mine was too far down. There we go. Still think this is a little bit big, but it doesn't matter. Now we're going to click off the handle, click back on the blade, there we go. And then we're just going to scale the blade in until we can see extrusion here. So you can see the blade is still there. It's just a bit flatter than before. But I want to bring that out a little bit. Like that. And then put it back on it here. I think I'll just I'm just gonna scale this in. This is just personal preference. Just gonna scale that down. This is all personal preference. You don't have to do this part. This is just so I'm making it so how I like it. I will remember to tell everyone what's personal preference and what's not personal preference, so you don't have to worry if you think I'm doing something that's different. There we go. Yep, that looks okay to me. I might just move this a little bit closer. Make the handle a little bit longer. There we go. Right. Now select back in polygon mode. go to that face we made earlier. Select the two faces so we know which ones we want. Then go to vertex mode, and then select them in vertex mode. So we want this one and this one, this one and this one. Press R, scale them in. So we have them on here. You can start playing with the vertexes here, where you can just move that down, make it more central, make it a bit longer, like so. There we go. If you want to, you can make it a little bit wider, like that. And then you're going to select those verts and their counterparts on the other side. Go to Edit Polygon and Extrude, and they'll come out something like this. Press OK, and then move them down so they're both straight, like that. Now all we're going to do is make these end bits flat. So in your own time, just flatten the edges off. Remember to get a very close view so you can see what you're doing. But it'll probably be easier if you do it by vert and have snap on. So select your vert, select the nearest edge. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to select the vert, move it to the nearest edge, and we'll just scale it in afterwards. So these will all snap in line. So we'll just select the vert, nearest edge, and then keep repeating. We're going to scale them later anyway. Snap there, snap there. There we go. And the same the other side. Oops, wrong one. Snap. Snap. There we go. Now turn your snap off. Just bring this one down in line. Like that. Bring this one down in line. Like so. And then same for the middle. Just getting it all neat. Neat and tidy. Because it's very important that we get everything all nice in line. There we go. Now we're just going to bring those out a little bit further than the blade. Then go to Edge. Drag over these two. Go to Edge. Connect. Increase the level of connects here. And then in vertex mode, we're just going to start moving these into position. We're going to start sculpting our handle. This is all personal preference, depending on what kind of handle you want. I'm just going to make a very simple handle, just to save time. make sure to try and do the same on both sides so it's symmetrical. You can just delete half and mirror it later. That's more effort. So let's bring this one down. Oops. Yeah, let's bring that down. In. You can add as much detail as you want. You can do a lot more than I am. We're just doing the basic detail here, so we have a good understanding of what we are capable of. So these ones here, just gonna select those, scale those in, bring these ones in as well. Oops. Bring those in as well. Bring these out. Oops. There we go. Now all we need to do is make the pommel, and then we can start adding smoothing groups. So I think I'm going to actually go with, no, I'll keep the handle at that length. So go back into polyface, select all the bottom faces, edit polygon, extrude, bring that in quite a bit now. There we go. Just scale that out a little bit, like so. Then extrude again, a little bit more. Okay. Extrude. Bring it in. Extrude. Again, this is all personal preference, depending on how you want your pommel to look. I'm going to do some rescaling in a minute anyway. Extrude. Bring that out. Extrude. Right. Once you get to this point, you're going to want to grab the center vert here and just put it out to make the point, and then going across the edges this way, just going to add some connects in there to make it more solid. There we go. And that is the basic shape of our blade and handle. However, just do a quick render here. That's what it will look like. However, if I zoom in close, you'll see we have lines here. This is because we need to add some smoothing groups. So let's quickly do that, and that will be the end of this tutorial. In part 2, we will go over how to unwrap and texture this object. But for now, let's go to polygon mode. Just add some smoothing groups. So start breaking the object down into its key components and add different smoothing groups. You should know how to add smoothing groups to an object. There we go. just breaking it down into its key components. I think I'll cut the rest. I think I'll cut the rest of this smoothing out because it's going to take a while. So I'll be back in a minute and I will show you the finished smooth product. And here is the final product. As you can see, I've added different smoothing groups to either side of the blade to get this distinctive line down the middle. And while I was adding smoothing groups, I noticed that these two faces were very close together. I think that's just where I was in a bit of a rush and I was moving them too quickly. So to fix that, just literally click one vert and pull it upwards to give it some more depth. Other than that, there is the model completed. So in part 2, I will be moving on to unwrapping and texturing, and we will talk about normal maps, specular maps, and that's pretty much it. So that's end of part 1. This is Arcapo. See you in part 2.